At the heart of every single great SaaS business, every single great SaaS go-to-market strategy is the ideal customer profile. I've worked at companies upwards of 500 million ARR. And even in those companies, in those stages, a properly done ICP actually helped unlock growth. And also in early stage companies, an ICP exercise works every single time to accelerate the growth of your SaaS business. But here's the big question. Everyone thinks they have an ICP. How do you actually build a proper ICP? What's the difference between just a wish list of customers you'd like to have versus a proper and effective ideal customer profile? On this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 principles you absolutely need to know on how to drive and create a proper ICP to kickstart growth for your SaaS business. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS business faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies on how to grow your SaaS business. So when you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, you'll be notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my coaching programs, my people, it's really awesome to see you over here. Also, we just hit 25,000 subscribers. I know it's like a big number, but it's a small number, but it's a meaningful number to me because it means that so many people are following this channel and growing their SaaS businesses with an unstoppable strategy. So thank you for being part of this. Thank you for watching this. This is one of the best things that I do, and it's really meaningful to me that we're helping so many people. So thank you. Now, speaking of 25,000 subscribers, one of the most successful episodes that I've ever done on this channel was about 2 years ago. I did an episode explaining everything that I know about an ideal customer profile and the importance of an ideal customer profile. It's one of our most watched videos. I'll link to it below. You don't have to go right now. But since then, I've worked with over 250 companies and founders to help build out their go-to-market strategy and execute on that strategy and scale their companies. And since then, I've learned a thing or two about ICPs. I've learned a thing or two about what it takes to actually make them effective and where a lot of people just go wrong. So in this episode, I wanted to do a remix. I wanted to actually walk you through the 3 principles that you absolutely need to know now that I've worked with so many companies that you actually need to know so that you can build an effective ICP and kickstart the growth of your SaaS business. So if you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really likes it when you do that. Let's go to principle number 1. So principle number 1 is you need to have one ideal customer profile. The word one is highlighted for a reason. This is one of the top questions I get a lot with startup founders, especially in the early stages. They're like, hey, can I have multiple ideal customer profiles? And the answer is you can do whatever you want, but if you want to increase your likelihood of success, you want to have one ideal customer profile. The moment you have multiple ideal customer profiles, what you really have is multiple ideal customers, but none of them is really a profile and it's not really ideal and you're not making choices, you're not making decisions. And so it's really hard to go focus a go-to-market strategy to drive growth if you don't get specific about who you're targeting and you're not putting in the thought process around what makes for an ideal customer. The moment you're creating multiple ICPs, you're essentially hedging, and that usually leads to a prolonged period of time where you don't really know what's working and what's not because you're trying too many things. And then you might actually chase after the wrong market. So a lot of things can go wrong. But if you get disciplined about one ICP and you run a focused test to really figure out how to make that work, you can either validate that this works and iterate on it, or you can realize, you know what, this is not the ICP we need to be going after, and you can go spin up another controlled experiment. Now, are there exceptions to this rule? Absolutely. If you're part of a later stage company and you've got a core ICP that's working, and now you're looking at what are the other areas we can expand into, then it makes a ton of sense to put a dedicated team to a brand new expansion area, a brand new expansion ICP. Once you've done the research and said, look, this is an area we really want to go into and target, so let's go figure out how to go after these folks. So principle number 1 really is get into the discipline of actually establishing one ideal customer profile versus multiple ideal customer profiles. The other thing that's important, and the other reason I highlighted the other words, is you want to also think about whether you're building a profile or just a wish list. Everyone thinks they have an ICP until they go through my process inside of my coaching program. Then they realize, oh my God, we didn't have an ICP. And the difference is a lot of times people just have a list of people they want to go after and they think they would want it, versus creating a true profile where you're answering some deep questions about why this market really needs your product. And so that's principle number one ideal customer profile. The second principle is a lot of times founders mistake their TAM, total addressable market, from their ideal customer profile. And so one of the things I always teach founders that I work with is, look, you're really building out your initial customer profile. The reason for this is it can be very daunting to say, you know what, I've built this really incredible piece of software. It can apply to so many verticals, so many segments, we can go take over the world. And we should not limit ourselves with an ideal customer profile and just pick one vertical or one segment or get that focus. We should just stay horizontal, we should stay really broad. And if you are scaling at later stages, that is true. It does make sense to go after a very broad audience because you have the resources to do so. But if you're in the early stages, what ends up happening is founders create an ICP, or just don't create anything, or just create a list that is so broad, it's not really an ideal customer profile. What it is a representation of your total addressable market, TAM, T-A-M. That doesn't help you build a go-to-market strategy. It may help you actually raise a fundraising round because the TAM is so huge, but it won't really help you get traction in a specific market. And so when you're doing an ideal customer exercise, what I always say is, hey, go build an initial customer profile. Initial customer profile, think of it as initial, because that way what you're training your mind to say is like, look, once you get this profile working, this segment of the market working, then no one's gonna stop you from expanding into other areas and expanding your ideal customer profile. But what that also allows you to do is get very specific about the most important and urgent problem you're solving, the market that needs it the most, and you're going after the most probable opportunity. And then once you start getting traction and you start to scale, then you can open up and expand that profile over time. So always think of it as an initial customer profile. And honestly, this problem around this, I kind of call it the world domination syndrome. We're entrepreneurs, we want to build big companies, right? And so this never goes away. Even at 10 million, 100 million, at 500 million, you're always going to feel like, well, we could go after all these markets. But almost in every one of these stages, what's just as important is to define an ideal customer profile. Just as important is also to say, these are not our customers. Believe it or not, like at Marketo, I built my company, ToutApp. We're backed by Andreessen Horowitz. We grew it. We pioneered the sales engagement space, and we were acquired by Marketo. And Marketo was approaching 500 million ARR company. And even in those meetings, I was SVP of strategy, and we were having these meetings about, hey, what do we do with our go-to-market? What segment of the market do we go after? Even then, we had to make tough decisions about who we are and who we're not. And one of the toughest decisions was, like, are we just gonna stay with B2B or go after B2C as well? Because it's just email, right? But that was one of those things as part of our ideal customer profile. We had to get very intentional about what market we're gonna go after. And so, even if it had a 500 million ARR company, you have to start saying no to certain profiles. It's doubly true in the earlier stages. And so think of it as an initial customer profile, and you can always expand from there. No one's gonna hold a gun to your head and say, hey, you can't expand. You said in your ICP it's this later on when you're successful, when you're looking to scale even faster. So that's principle number 2. Now, before I go to principle number 3, let me just pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? Are you starting to see the difference between what it means to have an ideal customer list or not even have anything and going after everyone versus having an ideal customer profile and having an initial customer profile instead of going after your TAM? Can you start to see how if you start to make some of these strategic choices, some of these decisions, you start saying no to some people so you can say yes even more so to certain other groups of people and really serve them, you can actually establish a beachhead, you can increase the likelihood of traction, you can actually grow faster from there and expand. If you start to see the power in this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? Also, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really likes it when you do that. Also, before I go to principle number 3, if you want help on building out your ideal customer profile, if you want help in actually building out your full go-to-market strategy, then I invite you to check out my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. I'll link to it below. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this video, but let's go to principle number 3. All right, principle number 3 is you should analyze the markets you are considering. It is not uncommon for founders that I work with when they're going through my process to actually say, cool, here's potential ICP A, potential ICP B, potential ICP C, potential ICP D. They lay out, they take the core profile that we give you a template around and the research that you need to do, and then we lay it out and they just look at all 4 of them or 5 of them. And it's perfectly fine to do that. And then from there, decide on which ideal customer profile is the most probable to be successful, can be your next initial profile. And then you can expand from there. And in that process, what I found is you can ask both qualitative and quantitative questions to vet your ideal customer profile. Qualitative is the easiest. You can ask yourself, well, none of them are easy. You just have to do the work. Depends on how much work you've already done, how easy it'll be. Qualitative is you need to ask yourself, like, who has the more urgent and important problem? The more urgent and important the problem is that you're solving for that segment of the market, for that ICP, the more likely they'll say yes. The less marketing and sales you'll have to do. The harder it is, the less urgent, the less important it is, the more likely you'll fail. And so asking the qualitative question around your ICP on is it urgent, is it important, can really make a big difference. The other thing that you can do, if you've already got revenues, this is something that we did at the Marketo ICP exercise. This is something we do with all the members in my program when they have revenues and they're honing in on your ICP and they're iterating on it, which we always do to drive scale. We look at the quantitative aspects of it. So for a given ICP, can you actually look at your revenue base and start to understand what percentage of your revenue is represented by this ICP? Is over 50% of your current revenue coming from a certain ICP category? You can also see if certain segments of the market, certain ICPs have a higher win rate, a lower churn rate, a greater LTV, or they just make you happier. One of the things that we did as an ICP exercise back in the ToutApp days, we started with email. Like, we make you more productive in email. And then over time, we started to see that, hey, salespeople love this a lot. And that's how sales engagement really started. Sales engagement, sales acceleration, all of that. And what we realized was salespeople paid the most, complained the least, churned the least, and were the most fun to work with versus anyone else that was using it. We had HR using it, we had PR using it. Salespeople were awesome. So we were like, let's just go double down on that. We looked at our revenue data in a quantitative way to really hone in and iterate on our ICP, and that led to tremendous growth for us once we doubled down on that ICP. And so as you're thinking about these different ICPs and you're thinking about building an ideal customer profile, think about it from a qualitative basis. Is it urgent and important? And also from a quantitative basis. What's the win rate? What's the churn rate? What's the percentage of revenue does this represent? And that can help you figure out where the heat is. This is a phrase that I use all the time when I'm working with founders and we're reviewing their ICP and they're following our process. I'm like, cool, let's figure out where the heat is. And almost always when you lay out the pieces like this, you start to see where the heat is and you start to double down and you start to understand the patterns. And that always follows with growth, which is incredible. So to recap, for your ideal customer profile, principle number one, have one ideal customer profile, not multiple. Number two, you should think of it as an initial customer profile and make sure your ICP is not just a representation of your TAM, because then you won't know how to focus your go-to-market strategy. No one has unlimited resources for marketing and sales, so the more focused you go, the more successful you're gonna be. And number three, apply both a quantitative and qualitative lens to figure out whether your ICP is any good before you put resources towards it. Those are my three principles. And if you got value from this, please smash that like button. Now you know what the three most important principles are for your ICP. What you may not know is how to actually follow all the steps to properly build an ideal customer profile for your go-to-market strategy. You may not know how to mobilize that ideal customer profile into your sales and marketing activities. This is why I created my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. And inside of this coaching program, we focus on three things. One, we help you build out your ICP the right way. Two, we help you build out your manifesto. That's your proper positioning and messaging for that ICP. And three, we help you run a Broadway show, a proper set of sales and marketing activities on the right channels that helps you bring your manifesto to your ICP on a consistent basis so you can scale. When you follow the steps in this program, we help you build out your go-to-market strategy and execute on it. It's an incredible program. We've had over 100 founders just in this specific program alone. It's for founders that have some revenues and are looking to scale their go-to-market and scale their go-to-market strategy, be more intentional about it. If you're interested in working with me to revamp your go-to-market strategy and accelerate your growth, just go to tkcater.com/GTM. tkcater.com/GTM. And on that page, you'll get all the details about the go-to-market program. You'll be able to fill out a little form to get on a call with us so we can review where you are in the business and if we can help you. If it sounds like a fit, we'll be off to the races and we'll get you working into the go-to-market strategy pieces right away. We'll help you build out the ICP, the manifesto, and the Broadway show so you can have a go-to-market strategy and then scale, and I'll support you through the whole process. Just go to tkcater.com/GTM. If you got value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. I also drop a video like this every single Sunday with actionable strategies from the trenches on how to actually build and scale your SaaS business. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. If you have a fellow founder, a fellow team member that will get value from this, please share this video with them. My team and I put a lot of love into these videos, a lot of research into these videos, so it means the world to us when you share it, when you like it, when you subscribe and share it with others so we can serve as many SaaS founders and practitioners as possible. And remember, lastly, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode. On this episode, I'm going to walk you through the 3 episodes